The ocean is a place full of many things you need to be cautious of. Even the waters themselves are enough to cause panic if you're in the wrong place. But when it comes to what you should really fear in the water, it's the predators that hide in its depths. That's right. The ocean is filled with creatures that not only hunt, but also kill with extreme efficiency and terrifying skill. And some of these creatures are ones that are still admired in our society today, from the orca, killer whale, to sea snakes and much more. Here are the 20 most terrifying predators of the ocean. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Now, let's get started. Number 20. Killer whales. It may seem a bit odd to start with a whale, of all creatures, to represent the most terrifying predators of the ocean. But this happens because you're thinking of the wrong type of orca and forgetting the name killer whale. You see, in today's culture, orcas are considered adorable whales and are even mascots for organizations like SeaWorld, and rightfully so. We won't even mention those Free Willy movies. They are indeed majestic creatures, something impressive to see, when you're on the right side of them, of course. But the fact is, they're called killer whales for a reason. For instance, there have been many incidents in places like SeaWorld where an orca went out of control, attacked its trainer, and even killed them. So, ask yourself, would a truly docile creature do that? I don't think so. Let's take a look at the ocean to better understand what's going on. In the open sea, the orca is not just a predator. It's a cunning one. They use their group mentality to hunt prey and even play with them before devouring them, just for fun. Watch how they attack seals and sea lions, and you'll see just how cruel they can be. And if you still need more proof of this, here's one. Orcas are among the few creatures in the world that take on the great white shark and win. Yes, they can face sharks and tear them apart in pieces. That's why orcas are called killer whales. So it's fine to love these whales. Just don't forget to recognize what they can truly be. Number 19. The sea snake. For many out there, when thinking of snakes and water, you may imagine how they sometimes glide across the water's surface to move. This is a very common trait among snakes, including the largest ones, like the anaconda. However, there are some snakes that are completely aquatic by nature and prefer water over land. These are the sea snakes, and there are many of them out there, which is a terrifying thing. One reason for this is that many people don't even know how they operate in the water, but they seem to do just fine without much help. The reason for all this confusion is that, on land, snakes use a variety of senses, including a sort of infrared vision to detect things, which wouldn't work as well in the water, right? Even so, they manage to move and attack their enemies effortlessly. And this leads us to another scary point about these snakes: venom. Virtually every species of sea snake has some kind of venom, and many of them are lethal both to their prey and to humans. Now, to be fair, these snakes often bite without injecting venom. But that just means you never know what to expect. Furthermore, the bites aren't always felt by people, and as a result, you might have venom in your body without even knowing it. And once again, almost all species of sea snakes are venomous. So, whenever you see one underwater, be sure to keep a safe distance. Number 18. Anglerfish. Now, orcas are powerful and sea snakes are venomous, and both are terrifying. But what about a creature that is truly terrifying? Not just to look at, but also to be its victim. Let's talk about the anglerfish, because in case you didn't know, it is sometimes called the devil of the sea, as its teeth are huge and sharp, and its eyes are terrifying to look at. I think that nickname is quite fair. Do you? What has made this fish infamous in the depths of the ocean is a unique evolution, a protrusion that grows from its body and functions as a lure. It lights up a faint glow enough to illuminate the area without revealing itself. As the light shines, a curious fish slowly approaches, drawn to the light and its source. But why? Because most anglerfish live in places like the ocean's midnight zone, where there is no natural sunlight. So, a light like that is rare and grabs a lot of attention. While the other fish is distracted, the anglerfish closes in and devours the prey before it even realizes what's happening. That's terrifying, folks. A very interesting fact about this creature is that 90% of the anglerfish you'll see are females, which can grow up to about 20 centimeters. In contrast, males only measure about 2.5 centimeters. But wait, it gets even stranger. When they mate, they basically merge into each other. Number 17. Frilled shark. If you were to go into the ocean now, you probably wouldn't expect to see creatures from millions of years ago living in the water. After all, between extinction events and the natural order of the world, you'd expect all of these creatures to have been wiped out, right? Well, the problem is that doesn't always happen. In fact, according to scientists, there are living fossils, beings that somehow have managed to survive the test of time and the dangers of the world, becoming something almost eternal. And one of those beings happens to be a shark. Of all the creatures that could have come from prehistoric times, what we have is a shark. How lucky for us! Specifically, we're talking about the frilled shark, a true living fossil, mainly because it doesn't look like modern sharks. In fact, it looks more like an eel but with the abilities of a shark, which is not a very pleasant combination. If you want to know why it's one of the most terrifying predators in the ocean, besides being a shark, I'll explain. The frilled shark's mouth is one of the scariest things about it. It's believed to be lined with 25 rows of backward-facing, trident-shaped teeth, totaling 300 teeth in all. That's a lot, and I definitely don't want to be near that. So we have a shark seemingly immune to time and the dangers it brings, lurking in the depths of the ocean. That's scary, and that's why I prefer to stay on solid ground. Number 16. Vampire squid. You're going to see some octopuses and squids in this video, and we start by showing one that, honestly, is already scary just by its name, the vampire squid. The vampire squid is an extremophile, living in the dark depths of the ocean, between 600 to 900 meters deep. If threatened, this Dracula of the deep seas doesn't release ink like most of its cephalopod cousins. It also doesn't change color to confuse predators, like its shallow water relatives do. Living at the bottom of the ocean where there's almost no light, changing color would be a useless strategy. So what does it do? Instead, the vampire squid releases a sticky cloud of bioluminescent mucus towards predators, which is both terrifying and disgusting. How did it develop this? Actually, never mind. I don't even want to know. Another scary thing about this creature, at least to me, is its eyes. Proportionally to its body, it has the largest eyes in the entire animal kingdom. That's not something you expect from a squid, but it's real. So if you happen to see it in the ocean, you'll definitely take a second look. Not much is known about the vampire squid's eating habits. It's believed that its diet consists of shrimp, copepods, other small creatures, and invertebrates, which makes sense given its relatively small size compared to other squids. But this only makes you underestimate it and get closer. And now we all know why that's a terrible idea. Number 15. Lamprey. Here's a true nightmare fish. The lamprey is a creature that is usually not associated with the ocean, as it is typically found in rivers, lakes, and other inland bodies of water. But don't be fooled, they can live in the ocean and have been documented traveling through the sea on certain occasions to reach where they want. Their usual goal is to find food and consume it in the most terrifying way possible. But how? They use their mouths, more bizarre than anything else, to puncture their target of affection and extract what they want. That's right. That scary mouth is everything they say it is, and more. The lamprey is mostly a parasitic creature. Although some aren't carnivores, those that are literally suck the blood from their prey without hesitation. Furthermore, they are an invasive species that can travel from the ocean to rivers, then to lakes and other bodies of water, all to disrupt the local ecosystem. So here we have a creature that is not only a bloodthirsty predator, but also an ecosystem disruptor. And let's be honest, that's not cool at all. Number 14. The red-lipped batfish. Sometimes, what's scarier isn't what we can understand, but what we can't. After all, what do we fear more than the unknown? This is where the red-lipped batfish gets, let's say, a little complicated, because there's no doubt it's a scary creature. But the question is, why is it scary? I could say that, like the anglerfish, it uses a sort of lure to attract fish and feed, and that alone is quite scary. But I could also say that, like the number one on the list, which is not revealed here, it has no natural predators and thus lives without fear. This is the kind of scary fish you definitely want to keep your distance from. But the real reason it's scary is because it looks like this, and it's still alive. Seriously, what is that? Why does it look like it has lips? And even more so, how does it survive if it can't even swim properly? I'm not saying it's the platypus of the ocean, but it's definitely in the running, you know? Because seriously, it looks really strange. Number 13. The lionfish. Now we're talking about a fish that is scary for the right reasons, and definitely one everyone should fear, even humans. The lionfish is one of the ocean's elite predators today, for several reasons. One of the main ones is that it has a venom capable of killing almost anything, without hesitation. Even more impressive, unlike the previous entry, this fish can be quite beautiful to look at. Its colors and patterns are so stunning that they can attract those who have no idea how lethal it is. And you can probably guess what happens next. But, of course, the reason it's so dangerous lies in its dorsal fins, which store the venom. They cause such a wide range of side effects that I can't even list them all here. And if that wasn't enough, the lionfish is also infamous for destroying underwater environments, including coral reefs, which are home to many creatures, some of which the lionfish likes to eat. Number 12. The box jellyfish. The box jellyfish is a fascinating creature and, at the same time, a bit ironic when we think about terrifying predators. It is undoubtedly one of the deadliest creatures on the planet, with a venom so powerful that it can kill humans with surprising ease, and this has happened countless times throughout history. However, the true irony of this species lies in the fact that, despite its enormous killing potential, it feeds only on small animals, such as tiny fish and crustaceans. This raises a question. Why is such a deadly creature seen as such a feared predator if it hunts only small and defenseless beings? The answer lies in the unique ability of this jellyfish to manipulate its environment and ensure its survival. While they are not predators in the conventional sense, that is, hunters of large prey, they are masters at making sure that any creature wishing to attack them or consume what belongs to them is effectively kept at bay. The key to this ability lies in its venom, which not only serves to kill, but also to keep all predators at a distance. The box jellyfish, with its peculiar structure and venomous tentacles, creates a true defensive barrier, effectively driving away any animal that intends to feed on it. The most curious thing about this situation is the fact that despite having numerous natural predators, the jellyfish can protect itself with a simple touch of its venomous tentacles. It is therefore ironic that such a small and seemingly vulnerable creature, when compared to more traditional predators, has such an effective defense. This demonstrates just how extraordinary and adapted it is to survive in its habitat. When you are able to keep predators away with just a touch, it's clear you found an extremely efficient defense strategy and, in a way, a brilliant one. The box jellyfish, therefore, is a perfect example of how nature can be both simple and complex in its survival strategies. Number 11. Hammerhead sharks. We now come to an interesting point on our list, almost halfway through, and we finally reached our first shark, the hammerhead shark. If there is anything that can be universally considered terrifying among sharks, it's certainly them. But if we're talking about truly terrifying predators, there's no way to leave the hammerhead shark off the list. But why is it so scary? Well, the reason lies in its head and more specifically in its eyes. Have you ever wondered why the hammerhead shark's eyes are positioned in such a peculiar way? This happens because the placement of its eyes allows for panoramic vision, providing a 360-degree perception around it. This means that if you are detected, no matter where you try to escape, it will be able to find you with ease. Additionally, the unique shape of its body makes it an incredibly agile and efficient swimmer, allowing the hammerhead shark to not only chase its prey with precision, but also maintain visual control of it throughout the entire pursuit. And the most interesting thing is that despite its impressive abilities, fortunately, it does not usually use this talent against humans, which makes us incredibly lucky considering how effective these sharks can be in hunting. Number 10. The gulper eel. Throughout the oceans, there are many fascinating creatures that stand out for their large mouths and impressive abilities, capable of causing some degree of fear. However, when we talk about the gulper eel, it stands out due to a unique and particularly intriguing behavior. This eel has the remarkable characteristic of holding on to its prey for an extended period before devouring it, a habit that is rare in the animal world. Also known as the pelican eel, due to its ability to store prey in an internal pouch within its vast mouth, it adopts a surprisingly slow feeding strategy. When it captures its victim, the gulper doesn't immediately devour it, but rather consumes it gradually, a much different approach than the pelican, which swallows its meal instantly. One of the most impressive aspects of this species is its highly elastic stomach. This feature allows it to handle meals much larger than expected without suffering any damage or discomfort. The eel's stomach simply adapts to the enormous amount of food, and it continues eating without restrictions. This remarkable biological mechanism makes it one of the most fascinating and, at the same time, slightly frightening creatures, given its impressive power of adaptation. How surprising is that, right? Number 9. The viperfish. Now we return to truly terrifying fish. Because the viperfish is undoubtedly one of the scariest creatures you will see, and that alone is enough to make me happy to be just talking about it and not trying to swim in the ocean and learn more about it. Unlike the lanternfish, viperfish are known for their very special hunting habits, which allow them to catch prey in a terrifying manner. It is believed that viperfish attack their prey after luring them close with light-producing organs called photophores, which are located along the ventral sides of their body, and with a discrete photophore at the tip of a long spine in the dorsal fin, resembling the structure of the lanternfish. The viperfish flashes its natural light, turning it on and off while simultaneously moving that spine like a fishing rod, staying completely still in the water. Because of all this, the prey doesn't suspect it is in great danger, but in fact, it is. This is really scary to think about. But wait, there's more. Look at the mouth of this fish. Search for viperfish on any search engine, and you'll find several terrifying photos of the viperfish's mouth and how it is an impressive creature. But you might be thinking, wait, maybe I could survive and never see one of these. Well, that's not really an option because they can apparently live up to 40 years. So, no matter how old you are, one of these will be out there lurking and swimming around your feet. Number 8. Japanese spider crab. When talking about predators, crabs can be one of the most interesting things, because on one hand we know they can cause harm to enemies with their typically strong claws, and we could easily place the coconut crab on this list, since its claws are strong enough to kill a bird and, technically, a human. But if we are going to focus on marine crabs, we need to talk about the Japanese spider crab, considered by many to be the largest crab in the world today, based on the span of its legs from tip to tip. The coconut crab is the largest in terms of volume, but just how big can these crabs get? Well, their legs can measure up to 12 feet in length tip to tip. Yes, they are so large that when one of the first ones was captured, it was immediately called Crabzilla, and I don't blame the Japanese for coming up with that idea. Now, if you're wondering where you can see one of these, the name should be the clue. They are found mostly near Japan. Adults are found at depths between 160 and 5 to 800 meters, which explains how fishermen are able to capture them. To be clear, although these crabs may look terrifying, they are absolutely the type of creature their prey should fear. Humans, however, shouldn't be too afraid. In fact, they are known to have a rather docile nature, which explains why people can handle them without a mass of crabs getting out of control. Still, you shouldn't test your luck if you get too close to one. Number 7. The feared fangtooth fish. Ah, look at this. Another creature with a mouth so terrifying it's hard to describe. How did we get so lucky to come across something like this? However, not everything is so scary. And here's some good news. It's not that this fish is a rare or impossible to find marine animal. In fact, it is a relatively small fish, averaging 15 centimeters in length, which makes it modest in size. However, its teeth are disproportionate and large, to the point that they are among the largest in relation to its body size. This feature is particularly interesting because despite its diminutive stature, the teeth of this fish are so large that it can hunt considerable prey. When they reach adulthood, these fish become audacious predators, even attacking squids with their monstrous teeth. This may seem surprising since one would expect such a small fish to have a more timid behavior. But as we all know, if you have teeth this sharp, why not use them to hunt something bigger and more challenging, right? Number 6. Goblin shark. Remember the vampire squid. Another name for the goblin shark is the vampire shark. So apparently there are a lot of vampires in the ocean, and this one is way more intimidating than the previous one, I can guarantee that. Historically, this shark is quite significant due to the fact that it is another living fossil, like the frilled shark. However, it definitely embodies the nature of a shark, with one or two exceptions. For example, it is believed to average around 3 meters in length, which is a good reference point in terms of scary size when dealing with a shark, because that's much larger than a human. But what's terrifying about this is that sharks can be much bigger. We just don't know how big they are because they tend to live in areas like the Mariana Trench and no one goes there frequently. However, the bigger and more terrifying part of the goblin shark might be the creature's mouth, because this being can literally detach its mouth so it can move toward its prey. Yes, you heard that right. It has a mouth that is basically like the xenomorph from the Alien franchise. How the hell is that thing allowed to live? And if you're its prey, it can stay behind you at a distance and then move its mouth toward you, catching you before you can even turn around. That's just wrong. Number 5. Sarcastic fringe hair. There are times when the need to be perceived as a threat can change the course of a battle. Imagine this like a butterfly, which has vibrant patterns on its wings intended to scare off predators. However, the sarcastic fringe head, although it also uses the idea of causing fear, takes a much more aggressive and surprising approach, making it not only intimidating but truly terrifying. The reason behind this phenomenon lies in its unique morphology. When observed from a distance without any defensive action, the fish may look like any other ordinary marine creature, without attracting attention, without any threatening features. However, when threatened, it adopts an impressive stance. Its mouth expands in a terrifying way, while its fins spread in such a way that it appears much larger than it really is. Although these fish are on average only about a foot long, the visual impression created by their defensive posture is enough to intimidate any predator that approaches their territory. And the most surprising thing is that this transformation is not just a baseless intimidation tactic. The sarcastic fringe head is an extremely territorial creature and does not tolerate intrusions in its domain. Its reaction to threats is so intense that if another fish of the same species approaches undesirably, they will engage in a real battle, using their large mouths as weapons to decide who gets to keep the area. This fight is not a simple confrontation, it's a fierce struggle for survival and territory. While this behavior may seem unexpected for a fish of such size, it shows us that often having the right resources, whether it's an imposing body or an efficient defense strategy, can be just as effective as the most powerful weapons in the ocean. The sarcastic fringe head, with its combination of intelligence and strategy, proves to be one of the most formidable and intriguing creatures from the deep sea. Number 4. The black swallower. Now, that's a name that will definitely send a chill down anyone's spine who hears it. A glance at the black swallower and you'll notice a couple of things. First, it has an absolutely terrifying mouth, and second, it has what looks like the beer belly that Uncle Mike used to have. Want to guess what these two do together? Well, they eat pretty much anything, or at least anything that's not more than 10 times its size. That's right, this is a creature that will go after and manage to eat anything that's not 10 times bigger than it. Now, that's a lot. Oh, and if it's not obvious by the name, it also has the habit of swallowing its prey whole. Sure, it can use its teeth to bite the prey and ensure it doesn't escape, but in reality, it likes to swallow it whole and leave it inside its enormous belly, just like Uncle Mike with the beer. The only question is, what's next on the menu? And that's a pretty big menu, folks. Number 3. Giant squid. When it comes to ocean legends, few are as grand and told as the story of the Kraken, the powerful creature that could apparently sink entire ships without much effort. But the problem is, the Kraken is not real. That doesn't mean, however, that there aren't large squids in the ocean, with the largest being the legendary giant squid. This animal truly lives up to the name giant, as the largest ones recorded reach about 30 meters in length at most. Naturally, there are also stories from fishermen saying they're over 18 meters long, but this has never been confirmed. However, that doesn't mean there isn't one out there longer than 18 meters. It just hasn't been recorded by science yet. So, there's a big difference. Now, besides all that, what is scary about the giant squid? Well, a lot. For example, when it feeds, it grabs its prey with its enormous tentacles and slowly brings it to its mouth, which, if you didn't know, is equipped with a beak. And once the beak is within reach, it will tear its prey apart. I'm starting to lose my appetite, how about you? And if that's not enough, there are reports that sometimes giant squids get so hungry that they end up feeding on each other. For the record, there's proof of this. And while it's not confirmed to happen all the time, the mere fact that it does happen is pretty scary. Number 2. Lion's mane, jellyfish. Although the box jellyfish is mainly feared for its deadly venom, the lion's mane jellyfish is terrifying because of its enormous size and extraordinarily long tentacles, capable of intimidating any creature that dares approach it. This majestic and terrifying marine creature uses its venomous tentacles strategically to capture, pull, and devour its prey, which ranges from fish and zooplankton to other smaller species of jellyfish. At first glance, it may seem harmless, but its true nature is revealed when you learn that its tentacles can reach over 36 meters in length. This impressive length allows it to attack its prey from a surprising distance from its body, making it one of the most effective predators in the ocean. To make matters even worse, the lion's mane jellyfish can release its tentacles, and even after being detached, the venom they contain remains active for a considerable amount of time. This means that the pain caused by the venom can still be felt by those who are not close to the creature, making it even more dangerous and unpredictable. Number 1. Great white shark. Is there really another creature that could top this list? Well, maybe, depending on how you perceive fear. But if you ask people in general what they think is the scariest predator in the ocean, you can bet the great white shark would be one of the most popular answers. Part of the reason for this is pop culture, such as in movies like Jaws, where the shark is the villain and shows abilities beyond what sharks can actually do, as proven by the Mythbusters show. But that doesn't mean the great white isn't scary, because it is. Very much so. Just in size, the great white can grow over 6 meters in length and weigh up to 2,200 kilograms. And that's a lot for a shark. When it comes to speed, sharks in general are known for swimming fast across the world's seas, but the great white is among the fastest, reaching speeds of about 24 km/h. It uses this speed to catch its prey and tear it apart, or to launch itself out of the water and fall on top of its prey with such force that it cannot react while being devoured. Do great white sharks attack humans? Yes, but not as much as people think. It's estimated that around 10 attacks occur each year, which still means there are people who will be attacked by a great white, and that's enough to scare many people. That's all about ocean predators. What did you think of all the ones I mentioned on this list? Did you find them all equally scary, or did some scare you more than others? Which ones should have been included in this video? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed our content, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Also, check out some other interesting videos that are popping up on your screen right now, and I'll see you in the next one. See you next time.